Welcome to Autumn Waves, the city of forgotten life. I am your host Autumn, and today you will be listening to the story Autumn Promises, written by me, your host Autumn. In the heart of Dehradun, during an early autumn downpour, Avni hurried through the narrow streets under a large umbrella, struggling to keep her notebook and phone dry. The rain had come unannounced, drenching the city in a sudden and steady downpour. She ducked into Cafe Saffron, shaking off water droplets from her soaked jacket and letting the comforting scent of freshly brewed coffee warm her senses. She was here for a blind date her father had arranged, a rare favor to him, as she had never been one for these setups. But her father had insisted that he is a good man, Avni. Just meet with him. You will see. She found a seat by the window, watching the rain trickle down the glass, feeling a mixture of curiosity and annoyance. Of all things, he could have been on time, she thought. She was punctual by nature and held a special grudge against tardiness, particularly on a date. Her wet clothes clung uncomfortably and she shivered as she took a sip of her coffee. Just then the door opened. A tall figure entered, shaking off his umbrella and his head, as if all his hair soaked from the rain will be dry within a minute. And scanning the room, he spotted Avni and walked over with an easy smile. Avni? He asked, extending his hand. I'm Arjun, the late arrival. My sincerest apology to the punctual Miss Journalist. She managed a slight smile and raising an eyebrow. You're the one my father who has been singing praise about? How do you know that I am Avni anyway? Well, your father informed me about your attire and yes, guilty as charged for being praised, he replied, slipping into the seat across from her. Though, as a criminal lawyer, I would say it's all hearsay until proven true. She couldn't help but laugh, appreciating his quick wit, despite herself. As they got talking, her irritation slowly melted. He was charming, no doubt, and surprisingly funny. Weaving humor into his stories of courtroom, he would won countless cases, not just with legal argument but with his knack for reading people and a sharp sense of humor. However, what really impressed Avni was A quiet and unexpected gesture. At one point, noticing her discomfort in her drenched clothes, Arjun handed her a neatly wrapped package from his bag. Inside, a pair of soft cotton pants and a warm sweater with a scarf. Figured you might have been embarrassed by the rain just as I have, he said. His tone light, though I would pick something up on the way here just in case, I thought. For me? She asked, surprised and touched. The small gesture spoke volumes about him. She excused herself to change, and when she returned, dry and warm, she felt like she was seeing him in a whole new light. The evening ended with him offering her a ride to the home. His car was still bearing a faint scent of the rain-soaked hill city. As they reached her doorstep, she glanced at him with a grin, feeling a flicker of something warm in her chest. "Nice drive, Mr. Lawyer," she said, feigning seriousness, "but it will take more than a few jokes and dry clothes to impress me. I'm a journalist. I don't fall for the charms that easily." "Challenge accepted, Miss Journalist," he replied, a glint of amusement in his eyes. The second date came on a much clearer day. They found themselves in the same cafe, this time sitting outdoors, where the hills of Dehradun stretched out in a vast and serenity backdrop. Under a cloudless sky, they shared coffee and conversations, laughter coming more easily than before. Avni could tell her father had been right about Arjun being a good man, maybe even a bit more than that. As they sat down side by side, exchanging witty remarks, both of them felt this meeting was just the beginning of a story they would be writing together. As in the earlier incident of that day was making it even more of a proof. After the rain-soaked first date, Avni found herself both charmed and challenged by Arjun's confidence and small act of kindness. She kept replaying their encounter in her mind and wondering if he could follow up, as he had hinted. A few days later, as she was wrapping up her work at the newsroom, her phone buzzed with a message from him. "I'm outside the office when you're ready, Miss Journalist. Thought you might appreciate a little lift for home, and maybe a coffee before that?" Avni smiled, feeling an odd mix of anticipation and nerve. She checked her reflection, reminding herself to stay calm and collected. But as she stepped outside and spotted Arjun leaning casually against his car, looking both attentive and attractive, not to mention attractive as well, She felt her cheeks flush. She tried to mask it with a cool expression, but his eyes sparkled as he noticed her quick transformation. A monumentary blush followed by an expertly placed poker face. With a playful smirk, he opened the passenger door for her. "Did I catch you off guard by any chance?" he asked, and she got in. "Not at all," she replied smoothly, pretending not to have noticed his observation. "Journalist, remember? Quick reflexes and a quick mind." He laughed as they started driving, the city lights illuminating their faces after a pause. He glanced at her, a serious yet warm expression settling over him. "You know, it's funny," he began. "In our profession, you as a journalist, mine as a lawyer, holding a steady face is as much a skill as the work we do. We deal with people all the time, friends and advisories like, but we are always watching and always listening and keeping an even keel, even when things are getting heated." She looked at him, intrigued, as he continued. "It would be tiring, this constant control, never giving too much away. It's almost as if we are performing no matter who is in front of us." She nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. "Sometimes I wonder if we would forget how to be just human, or if we are just waiting for someone to look past this professional mask or to see who we are actually underneath." Arjun's gaze softened. For a moment he seemed to be considering her words. Then with a second gentle shrug, he reached into the back seat and pulled a soft scarf and a small box. "Here, I thought you might like these. Evenings are getting cooler. I remembered how you shivered last time." She blinked, taken back by the unexpected bouncer of thoughtfulness again. Inside the box, there was a small pocket of her favorite chai blend, a comforting fragrance of cardamom and ginger wafting up. As she opened it, "Chai?" she asked, smiling, tugging at her lips. "Chai," he confirmed with a grin. "In case coffee gets too intense, you know." Avni laughed, her earlier composure softening into a genuine warmth. This wasn't just a gesture, it's a little piece of understanding, a shared kindness in a world where they were often expected to be strong and self-reliant. For the first time, she felt herself letting down her guard, if only just a little. As they reached her doorstep later that evening, she turned to him, her voice light but with a hint of sincerity. "Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. I'm not so easily swayed by warm scarves and chai. but you still got work to do. He chuckled, and the next moment, Avni was softly hugging Arjun. Arjun was taken aback and said, "I like a challenge, Miss Journalist, and from what I can see, you're worth the effort." I kept my promise, so thank you. This is the story Autumn Promise you have been hearing, and I would see you next time. And also, if you have time, please take care of yourself. And yeah, go and read some old newspaper. Maybe you find your favorite sports star in a magazine that you have never seen. Cut his photo out and paste it to your journal. You might remember it later on when your kids find your journal and ask you, "Hey Dad, do you know who this is?" And you might explain your entire story of fandom about the star player that you have admired and loved. Thank you for listening to Autumn Waves, a forgotten city of life. Bye now. This is your host Autumn. I will see you next time.